Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 562. Post Reserve Championship presented by Simon Line and pre-United States Women's Disc Golf Championship, which is extra exciting knowing it's about 60 minutes north of where we're sitting right now. I'm here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, I am excited because I'm probably going to go at least one day, maybe two, depending on weather. I've seen that I'd like to go Thursday is my thought. I'd like to go Thursday. There's like a 10 to 15% chance of rain all day Thursday, only because I'd like to bring my daughter, and then I'd like to go Sunday by myself and just kind of hang out. But yeah, Thursday would be the day I'd want to, like I said, bring Violet up there and hang out. It's at Roland Ridge the first 2 days.
Correct.
And then it goes to Super Silver the next 2 days.
Yes, and I will not entirely spoil it, but little coverage today, bonus coverage that was just agreed upon in the last couple of weeks. Paige Pierce had reached out to me and said, hey, I'm thinking about hosting some kind of pre-event doubles of sorts leading into the weekend, and it turned into this big event thing, and next thing you know, I'm filming a pretty sweet feature card today. By feature, it was three of the groups that were three of the doubles teams that were on the card. And I want to get that out as soon as possible. I was hesitant, but I think I can put that edit together pretty quickly. So hopefully I'll get it out in the next day or two, although I'm insanely busy. But Paige Pierce, along with Missy Gannon, Cadence Burge, who, if you didn't know before this weekend, you certainly know now. But,
there's not a person listening to our show that didn't know who Cadence Burge was.
But she got 10 times the coverage and talk about this weekend, completely rightfully so. She was teamed up with Shelby Cohen, and our last group was Raven Klein along with Ella Hansen, and they played the Super Silver layout, which we're going to see on Saturday and Sunday, as you were just alluding to. But we'll get back to that. We can talk about that more later, because right now, some other guy that threw some frisbees less than everyone else.
He didn't need a doubles partner. He would have beat some of these guys with a doubles partner, I think.
I wonder, we'll ask him, what could he do playing Cali, so to speak? We've got the champ from the Preserve Championship, presented by Simon Line, Gannon Buhr. How you doing, buddy?
What's up?
First of all, congratulations. What an amazing weekend. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching it. I know some people find it boring when a player
you dominate.
Well, when a player doesn't necessarily, as they say, need a third round. They're just taking a victory lap. But I was excited to get to watch history personally. So
yeah. So I echo that, of course. Congratulations. Do you have any different feels about that course, that tournament, and that property now that you went there and played the way you did? You know, as kind of a small monkey, maybe a little chimp on your back. I don't know. Do you have any different feels about it now that you conquered it the way you did?
I don't think my opinion on the place really changed much. I mean, I enjoyed playing out there for sure. It's like it's not one of my favorite places to play, but it's like not stressful to play, which kind of ties into a little bit of the philosophy out there. I know, it's the course is on the easier side. I wouldn't say it's too easy, but I think the reason, I was able to score as well as I did, a lot of it was because the lack of out of bounds on the holes. And there's only like 2 holes out there where I'm scared. That's pretty much it. Where on some Pro Tour courses, there's like 10 holes you're scared on, or plus. Like USWDGC, you're scared on about 13 or 14 of those holes out of 18. So I think when you have a mix of that, like when even if the OB lines were there, it just adds a fear factor, which can affect the way you throw shots. It can take off 50 feet of your distance. You're trying to play a little bit safer just in case. So I think because of the lack of out of bounds, my opinion stayed the same. I think I've always wished they would just add a bunch of OB out there just to see how it would play, but. Yeah, it is what it is. I enjoy the place, and it was really fun.
Well, I think they probably don't do that because so many of the pros say how much they love that weekend, they love that course, and I think that's a lot of it, because like you said, it's a lot less stressful. The course doesn't have a lot of teeth, and there's all the stuff that's the swimming and the camping that everyone does. I'm sure that all builds into it, but Simon has said it in the past that it's just a fun course. There's not much more to it other than it's just fun.
Yeah, I agree 100%.
What's the next closest course that you play that you feel like you let loose a little bit, or things can, you've got more freedom? Is there another course? What's the next one in that category?
I mean, I would say Deglow in a way. They've definitely made the front nine really good, but I think the back nine is still lacking quite a bit on that course. It gets slightly better every year, but it's kind of just, you just chuck in the open, and that's it. There's no out of bounds anywhere, and everyone takes a 3 on every single hole in the back nine, and it's really frustrating. But it's kind of the same. It's kind of the same feel where it's like there's not a ton of score separation on that back nine because there's not a lot of options or chances for it. But yeah, I mean, I feel pretty free out at like Portland Open too at Glendoveer.
Sure.
I mean,
okay.
they tighten the OB there, but there's a lot of just like big bomber shots, and there's still a lot of holes where the fairways are so wide where it doesn't matter. You can throw wherever you want.
Well, I know that obviously there's a lot of conversation this weekend regarding Simon going out to the preserve, having some input. It was a great vlog that he put out talking about some of the changes and arriving at what they did. And I know you've had input at a place like Pickard. Is there anywhere else where if somebody said to you, hey, Gannon, why don't you come out to this property a year ahead of the event, 9 months ahead of the event happening? We'd love some input on changes. Where's the first course you'd love to go provide input?
Dang, I mean, like I said, Deglow, I think that one is a very easy fix though. It's pretty much all you gotta do is like where they have the long grass, just make it out of bounds and then shorten every hole by about 20, 30 feet. That's pretty much about the fix for the whole back nine. But I'd have to think about another course and see what I could do to it to really give it some more teeth, and I think play better to like tour standards. But I don't know. I mean, I'd love to do something like that because I think I'm pretty, I've never really designed like a hard course before. I've designed some short ones, but I think I'm pretty dang good at critiquing courses from, once I have kind of like the mold, I think I can tweak it to make it a really good course. Maybe I'd be good at designing a good course as well, but I think there's just so many things that can be added at so many properties, and just to make courses harder. I know people don't like artificial OB, but that's what you need to make a good hole sometimes.
Well, one thing that comes to mind, and they weren't on the tour this year, they're revamping and whatnot, but and Drew Gibson, I know, visited this side of heaven in Jonesboro many, many years ago before we were really even playing that course on the tour. I think of someplace like there, like I feel like you have a lot of freedom out there.
Freedom
for the most part, and maybe you
lack
would,
of out of bounds. Yep.
Yeah, and that's where I guess
Yep.
I feel like maybe that's a place you would really like to go to. To play around.
And something like that too would be a pretty quick fix. It's just really putting OB lines where they should be at, and that was always the problem I had with Jonesboro. Once again, super fun, a lot of bombs, but you shouldn't be able to throw in other people's fairways. They did, just like Deglow, eventually get a little bit better, but like I almost got my head taken off one year on walking down hole 1. I think it was last year, 2024, because one in like old 9 or 13, or it's a par 4 across like this creek.
Yeah,
but they're like right next to each other, and you could just throw wherever you wanted to on that par 4. And when you're walking down hole 1, if a drive fades out on that par 4, like you could hit somebody. And I almost got drilled in the head with a driver during the tournament. I'm like, if that's out of bounds, no one's even landing close to there. So not only is it better for safety reasons, but it's just so much more fair. Like artificial OB just makes the game more fair because it really truly shows, and it'll show the skill level, and you get rewarded for being aggressive and accurate at the same time. Like for disc golf pet peeves, I hate when someone can throw a worse shot and get the same score as you. Like that's so annoying.
Yeah, or when somebody throws up and over like 2 fairways over, and then they have to put a Mando in the middle of the tournament to stop somebody.
That was
ring
bad.
a bell?
Well, let's talk about this past weekend. You seem to be a guy who knows what's going on as far as the stats. I mean, you said ahead of time you knew you were shooting for the rating record. You knew that you were shooting for the record for largest victory. Do you know the last time a player shot the best round all 3 rounds? I don't, and that's why I figured I'd ask you.
As much as I think seems like a big achievement, I feel like back in like 2010s, I feel like it probably happened quite a bit with Macbeth and Ricky. I bet they probably had hot round by maybe 1 to 2 strokes a lot of the time. So I feel like that's probably a bit more consistent. You know, it's obviously it just depends on the course, but like Ricky shot 15 down that final round and I was able to match it. So yeah, it just kind of depends on the era, how many players are there, what the competition's like.
Yeah, I wonder if it's happened in the Pro Tour era that a player, MPO or FPO, has shot in hot round all 3 rounds.
Yeah,
someone will pull up the stats for us, I'm sure, at some point.
Mando can get that real quick.
My other question is, and I was talking to Terry about this before we came on, and I probably sound crazy to a lot of people, which I know I do. I felt that 3rd round was more impressive than your 2nd round. To me, you made that 2nd round look easy, but it didn't feel like you had what, 2 circle 2 putts? And I felt like you had to work a little harder for your 15 on the 3rd round than you did for the 16 on the 2nd round. Would you say that's accurate? What would you say?
I would disagree just because round 2's conditions were considerably worse.
I didn't really take that into account, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty cold round 2 and there was a little bit of wind. So round 3 was sunny, hot, no wind to speak of. So I'd say that, and you know, also with like round 2, I went for that eagle on 14, so that's basically you pretty much just write that up as a birdie if I just played it for birdie instead of going for eagle. So I think it would have been closer to like 17 under.
Maybe it's a dumb question, but do you feel like round 1? How do you feel like round 1 ultimately was? I know you had the hot round and you were in relatively early compared to some of the others, but what's your assessment of round 1 and the challenges that you faced?
Yeah, I mean, round 1 was tough. It was the coldest round. It was obviously wet and windy. Our first like 7, 8 holes, it was raining on us. Like I said, I teed off pretty early that day. And yeah, it was just tough to score early. I had a birdie putt on hole 1 from 30 feet. Missed it. Had a birdie putt on hole 2 from like 25 and missed it. So I missed my first 2 circle 1 putts to start the event, and I didn't miss any other ones throughout the rest of the tournament. You know, round 1 was good. I think I was 5 down through 13 holes, which is like, I remember telling my caddy, I was like, this is not good enough. Like, you got to be shooting better than this. You got to be toward like 7, 8 down through 13. That's pretty crazy looking back at like what I finished the tournament at. But you know, obviously I went birdie, eagle to finish that first round. So I went from 5 under to 11 under really quick. And yeah, I mean, past that, started off round 2 pretty hot, and it kind of just kept flowing from there. And really, there was no point in the event I thought I was going to lose. I thought I was going to win the whole time after round 1.
Yeah, and is that because you felt you were dialed and the course was going to set up for you the rest of the weekend, so to speak? Like, was it, where did that confidence come from, maybe, is a better question?
Yeah, there's so many holes out there that I literally just guarantee a birdie on, and that's just how it is. So if there's at least 8 birdies that I guarantee myself per round, I figure I can get probably 4 or 5 that I don't guarantee, and maybe I'll bogey one time, but I'll probably average around like a 12 to 13 under no matter what. And at that point, I already had 4 strokes on 4th place. And, you know, if you just look at the ratings of the people that were around me, they weren't the highest rated players in the world. So that's not a diss to them or anything, but just going off statistics, I wasn't too concerned. Corey did scare me a little bit just because he was playing so solid. But yeah, I think after like hole 5 in round 3, I knew it was pretty much over.
We saw a lot of Silas Schultz this weekend too. I know you're friends with him, and plenty of people know who he is, but we haven't seen him as often on coverage as we did this weekend. What does he need to do? And I know you're friends with him, so I can ask, what do you think he needs to do to either beat you or just in general break through, pick up a win somewhere?
I don't love his either shot disc selection or game plan sometimes. Like a lot of game plan, I'm like, that's so stupid. Like he was going hole 6, he was going fairway driver turnover to try to get into the gap, which is just useless. That does nothing for you. And all it does is it can take you out of birdie early in the hole. So I don't understand the point of that. I also think he has a decent forehand that he doesn't trust enough. Like there's a couple shots that were like pretty obvious forehand approaches and he wouldn't throw a forehand. And it cost him a couple times. And obviously the putting. You can almost feel it like when he's gonna miss. You just know he gets a little bit nervous, but his putting has been really solid to where he can miss putts and still get these good finishes. So I know he's been close the whole year, and like watching him play today was like how it is or during this weekend was like how I watch him in a practice round. Like it's nothing surprising, but he missed like 4 putts in that final round, still shot like a 10 or 11 under par. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see Silas heating up. His games, he always had it. His game's good. His backhand's so committed, one of the best in the world. So, yeah, I think he'll have a lot of success.
Yeah, one thing that just jumps out at me real quick on him is his throwing style, for instance, is so completely different than yours. In that I feel like the way he runs up and puts the energy into the disc and the delivery he gives, release, all of that, versus your, I feel like you step onto the pad a little bit slower, and obviously you have much longer arms, but I just feel like your styles of throw are so completely different, but yet you both throw so far. Do you ever thought about that in terms of how you compare to him or anyone else that throws far?
I mean, yeah, he's like, I think we're good at separate things. Like he's really good at hammering like a slight hyzer with like a slightly understable disc and just ripping it and knowing it's gonna turn at the exact time he wants to. Like when he was shredding WR Jackson, he threw the same yellow FD, which is still in his bag today, 3 years later, which is kind of nuts. But um, it was just perfect. It was just ripping him, so confident with it. And so I think when he gets that confident stride, like he's able to hit his lines perfectly. I've over the last couple of years, I just throw almost every disc flat. So that's just what works for me, and I can shape any shot. I have my bags complete, and I just keep my bag really simple. So I trust my stuff. I think that's important. I've talked about it many times on how bagging a little amount of discs is really important. So you trust your tools, and once you trust your tools, you know what they do. Um, they don't get fluky on you. You know exactly when they're going to flip or fade. I also take care of my discs better than anybody on the tour. I think that's a thing that no one talks about, but needs to definitely happen if you want to compete at a high level, I believe. So, yeah, a lot of little preparation things that I think I do.
Okay, expand on that.
I was going to say, go into that. Like, what do you do to take care of your discs that maybe other players aren't doing?
What cycle do you put them on in the dishwasher? That's what I need to know.
Basically, a little bit. So before every tournament, I will wash my discs off, and I'll clean them pretty thoroughly to make sure there's absolutely no mud on them. And so what I do is I take a towel, I use my shirt as an example, but I'll put my pointer finger, my middle finger on it, and I'll drag it across the disc with a lot of pressure, so it creates some friction, and so it'll actually take off all the imperfections around the rim. So if there's any chunks or scuffs, it'll smooth them out. So that way no dirt gets stuck in there, or you hit wind and the flight gets exaggerated by that because of all the friction it's adding. And then the other thing I do is I stack them in a pile at night before my rounds, exactly all stacked up so they're not warped in any way, because especially and certain discs actually get exaggerated even more if you have them warped badly. So I think, yeah, like I almost never get surprised by what a disc does. I'm not like, oh, why'd that not turn? Why'd that flip? Why'd that whatever? And I think your hands have oils on them, so after a while it gets kind of oily. It might affect your grip. So I have the same grip every single time. They have no scuffs in them. They're always clean, and they're not warped. So that's like I think that's a majority of what I do with my discs.
Yeah.
I see that as one of your future YouTube videos. Honestly, I've been watching your YouTube videos, and that was another thing I wanted to touch on. Well, I mean, I need all the help I can get, Gannon. So, what are you doing giving away all your secrets on YouTube? I mean, how you throw far, your grip, your forehand. Like I've watched them all now, and I'm almost as good as you. So.
Just 150 points off.
I'm just almost there. So what do you gain out of this?
Yeah, I've always had like a big like empathy or sympathy for, you know, when I see someone doing something wrong and they're like frustrated. Well, I'm like, dude, I could fix it so quick for you. I could help you out. So it's like, you know, I basically did all this studying myself to get where I'm at, but I want to give a good outlet for people to, you know, just learn that way and make these videos really simple and easy. And they might go against the grain a little bit with what other coaches might say, but obviously my results speak for themselves. And you know, I've heard some comments like, oh, well, you know, Gannon's not a coach, he's a player, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, I've studied form for 10 years now, and I've seen every single form video in the world. So just because you're a pro doesn't mean you aren't just obsessed with the game and learning all the mechanics. So that's kind of shut those comments down. But you know, the other thing too is I think it's good. It's good for the brand. It's good to connect with the fans a lot. You know, I have so many people come up to me and tell me that they love seeing the videos, and you know, I think that just can only help me grow my fan base as well. So I think it's all good stuff, and just getting that type of content out there is really important. I think, you know, I just started this new YouTube channel up, and I made an investment with, you know, hiring Ben to be my editor, my the guy who makes all the videos for me. So, but it's paying off. It's totally worth it in the long run, I think. So, you know, I just know that it's important. I've been getting really good views, I think, more than any other player in disc golf right now.
Yeah, well,
I was gonna say, if you've got me watching, I hate watching most. Seriously, I hate watching most disc golf videos. I watch the Alden ones because I find them very funny with you guys, and I watch an occasional Simon video, but I've watched every one of yours so far. At least nice. all the form ones. I'll pop in on some other ones once in a while, but it is really a useful tool. I'm gonna flat out say that it's.
I think another thing too is those type of tutorial videos, they don't really die ever. They don't, you know, some videos have a very short life on YouTube. You know, if it's a recap video, they don't do as well just because it's, you know, people only care for about a week, and then they're on to the next tournament. So these tutorial videos are going to be on there forever. And, you know, I think in YouTube even pushes them more. If you see a tutorial video with a lot of views, you know, it's probably a good one. And I think it's just the good videos do even better. And I think it's awesome.
So forgive me, because maybe I should know this, but obviously I know you connected with Alden via FaceTime at one point this weekend, but what did he have going on that I didn't see him this weekend at the event?
Yeah, him and the Robinsons just took the week off to go home.
Okay.
I honestly don't even know. I think they're just trying to see their families or something.
No, okay. I was just surprised to not see him in the field, and I thought actually the same of Isaac and Ezra, and then I didn't know if my assumption was, because whenever disc golfers miss a weekend, you just assume someone close to them somewhere is getting married. Yeah, someone's getting married.
You'll never see that happening from me.
That you won't miss, or you won't get married?
But probably both. I don't know. I'll probably never. My goal is to never miss a tournament that I want to play. I mean, how I look at it is, if I don't play, it's a missed opportunity. So I don't want to have that ever be looming in my head. You know, if I didn't show up this week, I wouldn't have done what I did. So
yeah, you could say that about a significant other too. So there's my follow up is where there's no pressure at your age, clearly, or any age, but where does Ganon Buhr find a companion, a love life companion? Where might that happen? How does it happen?
I would say it would just happen naturally. I'm not seeking anything out. So,
but
if it happens,
do you think
it happens.
You go to a course and then someone just there playing? Do you think someone slides into your DMs? Like, how do you envision it possibly
the DM
happening?
route's probably not the DM route. Probably isn't the best route.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know what I see? I see somebody's friend. That's like, oh, I know a girl that would work for you, or whoever. I know someone who would work for you.
That's the Alden Isaac situation.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, trust me, the more of your friends that get married, the more friends they have, the more likely you are. It's just
never-ending process.
It's compounding interest, my friend.
Okay. That question wasn't on my list. Not that I keep a list, but it does. It is something that, as a young guy, all of you guys, it's interesting to see you having, we'll say, lives outside of disc golf and what that does or doesn't look like. And lady friends or boyfriends or whatever the case might be for anyone is always a factor there somewhere. And anyway. All right. Well, I know we're going to keep it kind of short with you. You win so often. You're on so often that we don't need to keep you long every time. And I know you have some other stuff going on. But is there anything that was said or not said maybe this weekend that you feel like a commentator missed or an analyst missed or a question that wasn't asked? Is there kind of any unresolved conversation from this weekend anywhere?
Nate Doss said I got lucky on hole 8 when it was a perfect shot.
Lucky on 7.
It's just the one over the water.
Yeah.
Par 3.
Yeah.
It was like, I just did like a hyzer, just normal hyzer, and it hit like 20 feet short and skipped up to bullseye. He's like, gotta get lucky. I'm like, what? There's no trees. What do you mean? But like, I don't know. That was kind of just a funny one I saw. Maybe he was just trying to fill the space. But
okay.
I don't know. I think they pretty much covered everything. I feel like I would have picked out something if they would have forgot something. Yeah, I mean,
okay. Well, then here's the last question. Did you get to go inside the rubber ducky?
I didn't. I threw a disc at it. I hit it.
How thick is that? Is that a pretty thick rubber? Because all I kept thinking is like, I see players throwing over it. I saw the video of Ben throwing over it, and all I'm thinking is like, how bad would we feel if we killed the rubber ducky?
Mama Duck?
Yeah, if we killed Mama Duck, if we put a disc through her, like it's a disc maybe with a little extra flashing on it that takes out Mama Duck.
That's got to be really sturdy. Did you touch it?
You see why I threw a disc into it. So the dude who owned it told me to hit the beak, so I threw right at the beak pretty hard, and then the beak goes and it like sucks it in like 10 feet and it shoots it out like a rocket.
Wow. Okay, but so he clearly
it's like a bounce house. It had a lot of give to it actually. I was pretty surprised on how like flimsy it was.
I was gonna say he clearly must trust the material that he's telling someone with your arm speed to throw at it. I know you're throwing up at it, but you're still coming in with some real power. Huh. Okay.
Interesting.
Any thoughts on it being there? I mean, did it distract from you and your accolades for the weekend in any way?
Yeah, he might have hit that last putt without it.
I say, if I had a duck staring at me, I'm gonna hit the last putt. I'm a big hater of like kind of quirky, goofy type stuff.
Okay.
I guess I don't want to say hater because that might sound kind of bad. Like there's been some times where like certain fan bases or island holes have like some type of theme.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's just like so cringy or it's horrible. Like almost all the players don't like it. I get it. Like obviously the fans are there to have a good time. They can do whatever they want. I don't have any control over. It's not that big of a deal. Sure. But I think the duck was actually kind of cool because of like how just rare it was. Like it's the biggest one in the world. So it is, even though it's goofy, it's kind of cool and it potentially could bring some other people into it. But I think just seeing something that massive, like if you saw that on like a highlight video or something, you'd be like, oh, like maybe disc golf's pretty big because they were able to get something like that out there. So
sure.
Yeah. I thought it was like one of those things, like it was so goofy, everyone kind of just was like, oh, cool, it's there. Like no one really cared that much. It was pretty cool, I thought.
It's hard to hate on a rubber ducky.
It is, but I'm going to tell you, so nice. I'll share this now. I bit my tongue when you guys were putting out on Saturday. Everybody was putting out, or maybe it was your group or any other group, and it was framed so that the big duck was definitely in the background as somebody was putting. And I bit my tongue because I almost said, some don't take disc golf seriously, huh? Just thinking like you said, like, yeah, it was cool. I can appreciate it because it is the largest in the world. But if we got on SportsCenter with the duck in the picture,
someone would rip on it.
The commentator would have definitely probably ripped on it, which we got to decide, do we care or not?
That. They just are hating on us for no reason.
That too. So they'll rip on us probably for anything. So maybe it is what it is.
Dumb duck? Why is a dumb duck there?
All right, Gannon. Thank you for joining us. We know that you're pulled in a million directions. You actually didn't have to be on Staggered Stance last night. I saw they had the night off and you were hanging out with them. But I know you're often a regular there. It's like I said, you keep winning. Everybody wants to talk to you. But thank you for joining. Any parting shots of thanks or accolades you want to throw out to anyone, feel free.
Yeah, if you want to support me, I have my brand new 2025 Cloudbreaker just released with Discmania. It's a pretty cool swirly like C-line, S-line mix. And then obviously my Squatch bag, red, white, and blue. You probably saw it in coverage a little bit. That is also available. And Cardinal Disc Golf makes my jerseys. Sweet. And for every win, I get a new jersey design. So probably look forward to something here very soon. And if you haven't, check out my Portland Open one. It was a rose-themed one. So I think they look pretty cool. They do a great job.
I look forward to the bright yellow rubber ducky jersey. Just two little beady eyes.
Oh, gosh.
What?
That would be horrible.
It's always looking at you.
There's a gentleman in Illinois that goes by Ducky or something. And you think you were, anyway. All right. Well, Gannon, congratulations. Historic performance. We've said all the things. They've all been said. You're rewriting the record books, which you're very aware of, and it's awesome to see. It's awesome to witness being in the booth, or, I'll see you in a couple weeks in Des Moines, whatever the case might be. It's always awesome to see. Thank you for taking the time to share some of your insights. And now all the ladies know if they got a chance or not. So
is there, real quick, is there a record that you have on your, that you have eyed up right now? Like something you can get this year that you're looking at? Like, I'd love to break that.
Highest rated ever.
Okay.
That's my goal.
Rated.
That's my number one goal is, behind a world championship. I already flopped my first goal of the year, which was top 10 every event. I flopped it at the first event, and then since then I haven't missed top 5. But I'm 1058 right now, but this average of 1088, which is 30 points above my rating, should bump me up hopefully close to 1060. So honestly, like the record's 1062 by Macbeth, but if I could even just get to 1060 and be the second player ever to reach 1060, I think that's pretty special. With it's just these days it's harder to shoot those high rated rounds. If you looked at that stat of the highest rated tournaments ever, like 5 of the 10 were Memorial. It's like those almost don't count in my opinion. So
more at the preserve. Let's go.
But it would just be an honor just to even get close to 1060. I think it just is a true show of the consistency and the hard work that I put in. So yeah.
Well said.
All right. Well, again, thank you one last time, and we'll see you a couple weeks at the Creators Challenge. I'll see you next.
Right in my backyard.
Yep. All right, buddy. Take care.
Good night, man.
Gannon Buhr, your champ.
Thanks for taking the time to join us. I know he's getting pulled a lot and he's in a hurry, and I'm glad he was able to hop on and chat with us for a few minutes.
I mean,
and like you said, he wins so much that even if we only get 30 minutes with him every time, he'll still be our most frequented guest this year.
Yeah, exactly. So out there doing some work. All right, let's quickly recap what we saw in the top 10 for all the. Do you call them losers? I don't. But non-winners.
They're all losers except for Gannon. I hate to say
it.
You could argue
technical.
You could argue that Corey Ellis was like the first real winner.
Because he beat the other humans.
He beat all the other humans. He didn't. He didn't have to. He's got to feel something good about that. So as we said, Gannon Buhr goes 42 under par, shooting an 11, a 16, and a 15, 3 round. I don't say round breakers, but ultimately he led each round, which is something special in and of itself. Second place, Corey Ellis at 31 under par. Tie for third place between Carter Aarons and Anthony Barella. Carter's a name we haven't really mentioned too much, or maybe at all this year on the Pro Tour. We talked a little bit about his sponsorship status earlier in the season and kind of now what his plans are, but he takes third place at the Preserve. Anthony Barella tied for third as well. Just Anthony, there was no catching Gannon. I don't care what Anthony was trying to do. He came out, and then when he came out with a double bogey on hole 1, at that point I was excited because all I kept thinking is like, oh, this is it. No holds barred. Like, run it everything. And he kind of did. Not that he wasn't going to do that before, but that just, I felt like, amped it up. 5th place, Silas Schultz, who you talked about in our interview with Gannon. Noah Meinsma, Minnesota native, in 6th place, tied with Calvin Heimberg. 8th place tie between Richard Wysocki and Sullivan Tipton. And finally, rounding out the top 10, Mr. Travelog himself, Ezra Aderhold, along with Bobby B, Robert Burridge. Ezra bouncing back and forth between those European and U.S. events. Can't seem to put it together in Europe. Seems to put it together in the U.S. That's his MO lately. But that's what we got for our top 10.
Yeah, and what I'll quickly say about that in terms of the travel conversation is it feels like it impacted a handful of guys and women, men and women, and you can understand that. You're talking about long flights, trying to get adjusted. Some people handle that way better than others. You can tell me all day long they're professional athletes, but jet lag is still real.
Yeah, it doesn't,
for plenty of people, especially when you get out of your rhythms and everything else. And then it just sounds like probably between the planes and the exertion that they're overall putting out, it seems as if flu/cold is kind of running through the community.
It is.
And
you could hear it.
And
you sounded a little stuffed up this weekend, too.
I specifically believe that it was
you were kissing allergies. Ricky again. Oh. Oh, never mind.
No. The DOS dog was Lara's my favorite. No. But allergies for me this weekend. But Kyle Klein, as some of you saw, withdrew, and then a couple days later made the post and said, yeah, in so many words, I'm worn down. I got the flu. I'm not getting better. Kona Montgomery, she might have gotten it from Colton. I'm not going to say how, but Colton Montgomery posting about being sick, and just obviously Kristen very much. There was no doubt about it just by hearing her.
Yeah, you could hear her cough, and
then listening to her interviews.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
and I'm sure there's probably a dozen others. I know of a handful more that I don't have in front of me, but travel aided or otherwise, some of that's going around.
I mean, it's summer. The weather tends to be jumping up and down, hot and cold. The travel, the extensive, constant play, your body just gets worn out, and just at some point, for some people, they just stop fighting. And maybe it's better that it's this week this past week versus this week, where we've got a major coming up for some of the competitors, specifically the women. Let's talk about the women right now at the Preserve. We are going to talk about FPO. Silva Saarinen wins her back-to-back event, her first in the U.S. She bests Kristen Lott by 2 strokes by shooting a 9 under par. Not much to say, honestly, other than she just a real solid performance. It wasn't like it was last week where she was out of it kind of the first round and she fought her way back. After the first round, she was at 3 under, and Missy and Cadence were at 6. And then she shot up and shot an 8 under par when Kristen shot a 9 to get them within a stroke of each other. And then at that point, Silva just played so well. It was her MO. Just pretty, for the most part, keep it in the fairway, get it close, hit her C1 putts. She, on that final round, she was 8 out of 9 on her C1 putts.
Yeah, I guess that works.
So yeah, that's pretty solid. The only thing she probably could have cleaned up was maybe hitting a few more C2 putts that she's known for,
which I was going to say is kind of surprising.
She was 1 for 7. Now, granted, depending on that course plays so much differently for FPO than it does MPO. For the MPO, I mean, distance helps no matter what, but for the MPO, it feels like without the teeth that course doesn't have the OB, the men, as Gannon said, you can push real hard and not have to worry too much. For the FPO, it feels a little different that the distance helps, but you got to put it in the right spot for the FPO a little bit more, I feel like, than you do for the MPO. And Silva's just a machine. So the fact that she was, 1 for 7 for C2, a lot of those were probably longer C2 putts.
Yeah.
It's just kind of the way it goes.
And to be fair, obviously it's all part of just overall stat keeping. But there's times where, especially with some of those hillsides, and elevation and OB directly behind it, you're not even thinking about running at a C2
No,
putt.
you lay it up.
You think of like, I'll use a great example is hole 13 that plays down to the Mississippi. You're in C2 there. No one's second guessing you laying up. Whether you're at 33 feet or at 65 and a half feet, anywhere in that C2 range.
You're sliding up to that little mound.
You're like, cool. I'm going to pitch this one up. So, and again, I know that's all part of stat keeping. It is what it is. But I think of some of those scenarios, or there's just, there's so many. It seems subtle because when I think of the preserve,
you don't think hilly.
You don't. But then you get there and you play and you're like, wait, there's danger on a ton of these putts.
So many of those greens have such a subtle, slight slope to them. That's my alliteration for today.
That's amazing. That's sultry and super
sexy.
Sexy of you.
There you go. That when you watch a player hit the basket, get up, it doesn't take off. It always feels like the disc is kind of in slow motion going down the hill, and you're like, when's it going to stop? When's it going to stop? But not all of them, but a lot of those greens just have that subtle slope to them where any putt can turn dangerous. Some of them you can lay up under, and some of them you don't feel like you can. You just have to hope that you put it in and take the stroke, and you don't get unlucky. It's hard to get unlucky when you don't miss, though, from C1 like Silva.
That is nice.
That is very nice. So, as we said, Silva wins this by 2 strokes over Kristen. Kristen was at 18 under par. In third place, Cadence Burge. And as we said, if you've been listening to the podcast, you know Cadence. If you've been paying any attention, you know Cadence in the FPO. But this was probably her best finish of the season.
Nope.
No, she took a second, didn't she?
Yeah.
Dang it. Yeah, she did take a second. That's
KC
right.
Wide Open.
KC Wide Open. I forgot about that event this year because it's not usually a Pro Tour event. But either way, Cadence Burge shoots 15 under par to take third, and ultimately really just had a poor front 9 on her final round. She would have been in it with Silva, with Kristen, but she just couldn't get it going. And it's not shocking. It's really funny listening to some of you on commentary when you talk about like, oh yeah, no, I'm not surprised. Val, I think, said this one point. I'm not surprised with her age and what's going on. And I'm thinking it's like, no, look at Silva, just the same age, and she's doing just fine. It doesn't.
Her age regarding what though?
Just not being able to kind of put a full round, some of the pressure she's experiencing. I just feel like we talk about this these days, like, oh, at their age, I can understand crumbling. And no one's saying she crumbled, but just succumbing to some of the pressures of the cameras. And all I keep thinking is I keep looking down this, the leaderboard, and I see all these women that are 18 to 22. I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know how much more we can really tack some of this up to inexperience or youth now that Cadence has this type of exposure. She has been in the spotlight now almost enough. She still hasn't obviously gotten her win, and that's difficult no matter what, because again, the people in front of her, Silva and Kristen, are arguably the top 2 women in the world right now. You could probably make some sort of argument for Holland depending on the weekend and the course, or Missy as well, but it's really hard to look at Silva and Kristen and think that they're 1 and 2. Flip a coin any given weekend. In fourth place, a tie with Valerie Mondahano, who's performed well the last couple weeks, and she continues playing well.
Yeah, that was a career high, 1037 rated final round.
12 under. Amazing.
She
hit every putt.
Fun to continue to cut to her shots. And I don't know what they put in post-production, for instance, but I know that cutting to her shots nonstop to see a perfect drive and then a near or perfect putt as well. I was going to say near perfect, but they pretty much were. Perfect drive and a perfect putt leading her to a 12 under. Previous highest round ever in her life was a 1020, and so she shoots a 1037 rated final round. And talk about figuring out the course. What did she go? 4 over the first day, 8 under. No, 4 over the first day, 4 under the second day, and then 12 under the third day. Right? Did I make that up?
Something like that.
Yeah. Just getting it all dialed as the weekend went on. Yeah, 4 over, 4 under, and then 12 under. So really cool to see and awesome. I mean, it's great when she's throwing great shots, and loved it. So congrats to her.
Congrats to her. Whoops, I accidentally sorted the thing the wrong way. All right, there we go. Looking down on the leaderboard a little more, Holland Hanley tied for 4th as well. It's really funny because Holland, I think one of you had mentioned it, she looked a little hurt, and I don't know if she's physically hurt or it just hurt to watch her play that second round because she did not perform well. And she was grimacing quite a bit, so it looked like she was in some sort of pain.
Yeah, we talked about it, I think, opening day 3, in that she had shared with Grant that she pulled something in her upper leg, and it hurt a little bit, but it wasn't enough to have her withdraw from the event. She knew she was going to be able to plan to then play it out and get a little rest and relaxation on Saturday night, would lead her into Sunday. And then every time we cut to her or had her on Sunday, whether it was a good or bad shot, didn't matter. You didn't notice any kind of lingering pain or grimacing, or she internalized it all. But it sounds like she was just good to go. So, which is really good, of course, coming into this weekend as well, like you said.
Certainly. Speaking of this weekend, 6th place, Haley King from Wisconsin, a USWDGC champion. Last time it was in Wisconsin. So Haley maybe heating up at the right time on what could arguably be called close to one of her home courses.
Yeah.
Like she has played Manitowoc
more than any other person,
more than any other FPO. In fact,
that's
that's where I specifically remember her. Like, I remember seeing her at Manitowoc every year with her and her dad. So I know Haley hasn't been on the tour much this year, but if she came out this weekend and won, I wouldn't be shocked.
Correct.
Like I would be like, oh, good for Haley. She's shooting well, but there's no reason to see why Haley could not come out and win this with the familiarity she has with the courses. 7th place, Owen Scoggins. 8th place, Rebecca Don. That's a name that we don't hear about very often, but you guys talked quite a bit about her on the broadcast this weekend. Tied with Missy Gannon. Missy had just a horrendous final round. She'll say it, anyone will say it. It was just so blah, and she didn't get a birdie until hole 11. So ultimately, Missy just fell down the leaderboard to 8th place. And then rounding out the top 10, Rebecca Cox, who just always feels like she's kind of between 5 and 10. That's almost where she is every single week. Every once in a while, she'll pop up on the lead card because she'll shoot a really good round, but ultimately it just feels like that's where she's finishing. So consistent for her.
Yeah, it was great to see. Also, we saw Hannah Wynn, who finished in a tie for 11th. We saw her with a great opening round. We saw Ellie Midling, who then fell off and really struggled during pretty much just the final round, but she was there on the chase card. So great to see. There was a mixture of women on our lead and chase card, that it was just a little mixed up more than normal, is kind of how I feel. And you had your staples in that you saw a Kristen and Silva, of course, but then I felt like we just saw a lot of different players throughout the weekend at some point or another. So pretty cool.
Sticking with FPO, because we're going into USWDGC. Terry, you were at one of the courses today.
Yep.
Looking at these courses, do you feel like there's an FPO player that has an advantage or even a disadvantage out here? Or how do you feel like the weekend needs to play out for someone, knowing they're going to start at Roland Ridge, which is a longer, much more wooded course? You have to hit your lines, or there's a very good chance you're going to take a bogey.
Yeah, here's what I'll say, and then maybe anyone can arrive at whoever they think fits this description. Roland Ridge,
which is funny because on the PDGA page, it's in there as Rolling Ridge.
Yeah, and
if you ask anybody on site, it's Rollin.
ROLLIN apostrophe. So it plays, for anyone that's familiar with it, kind of sort of almost like an Iron Hill, and in that big mature trees, but not necessarily underbrush to go with them. So there's trees, there's tunnels, there's an obvious fairway, but when you get kicked off of the fairway, I feel like, and it's been a minute since I've been there, but I do feel like there's always probably a route to the basket that it's just a matter of then can you hit that recovery shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like a Northwoods where you kick off the fairway and then you're just out in a jungle and it's impossible and it's tough to get back even to the fairway. When you kick off the fairway here, you're going to see the basket. There just might be 50 trees between you and it, right? That's very different from what you'll see at the Super Silver layout at Silver Creek, where there's a lot of places where if you go off the fairway, you're going to have to do some real scrambling in the terms of like throwing around a bush, through a bush. It might still be blind to where you're at. So I feel like the courses play differently in that sense. So I guess the theme though is scrambling. Who either hitting a fairway so you don't have to scramble, or who's really good at then getting up and down and doing the scramble.
And it's been a while since I've played Silver, and I know they've extended it down to Super Silver, as we've been calling it. Does that give Kristen an advantage if it's Super Silver?
I mean, yeah, Super Silverlet.
Yeah, I don't know if there's. I mean, clearly you need to scramble. I think a lot less at Silver. I think if you can, for the most part, you've got room to play with the fairways. You can air out a disc a little more and end up in a fairway versus having to carve like you have to at Roland. So I don't know. I don't know who that favors, so to speak. But you're right. If you do get off the fairway at Silver, you're looking at usually thick brush, bushes, a lot of leafy type of material that you might need to fight through versus Roland, which is, as you said, more Iron Hills-ish, a lot of trees, but less foliage.
Yeah. So in my opinion, the Silver Creek layout is more of a mixture of open and wooded with underbrush, whereas Roland Ridge has like 14 very, very wooded holes. Mm-hmm. There's essentially like 2 wide open holes, 2 or maybe 3 holes that are open that play into woods or vice versa, and then there's 14 very wooded holes, long tunnel shots and such. So now I will also admit, out at the Roland Ridge course, there is 2 or 3 tee pads for every single hole. And then there are 3 sleeves for every single hole. So the exact positioning of which tee to which pin, that I haven't inspected yet. So the part of the what I'd say to that is obviously the possibilities are endless. I'm kind of excited to see, because usually they have 54 baskets, I think, in at all times normally. So you could go out there and always play whatever tee you want to whatever basket you want. I'll be interested to see what they officially decided for the weekend to play which tee on which hole to which basket position.
There is the caddy book that's available. We could look at,
and
I haven't.
I'm not about to go through all that just because there's
either.
Because of the combinations. And they may have said, hey, we're playing long tees on every hole, black tees. We're playing black tees on every hole to every orange basket. What would have been orange? Maybe the middle pins or the short pins. I don't know what they did just yet, or if they mixed it up. If they mixed it up, there's going to be a lot of locals that are going to be like, I don't know. If they just went through and grabbed. And if they stuck to all of one configuration that's kind of standard, then it'll be a little bit easier maybe to assess for some of the other watchers or locals.
And Pool A is FPO and FP40. So I don't know if at Roland Ridge, if they're going to play different tee pads.
I think they do on a few holes.
For a few holes, they will be playing different tee pads. Okay. My guess is that they're going to play to the same basket, because usually they don't have 2 baskets out on one.
They will all be playing the same basket.
Just depends.
It might be a different
tee pad. Okay.
So,
but anyway, it's going back to Haley. I'm not calling her for winning by any means, but she has to feel comfortable there. She has to feel comfortable knowing that the last time this was in Wisconsin, she won. This is very much home territory for her. I'll be curious to see how she reacts to this particular event, and I won't be shocked regardless of what happens.
Yeah, it will. What I was surprised to see, and I do not know the backstory, maybe I'll get it tomorrow, I was surprised to see Des Redding in FPO.
What?
As opposed to
FP40
playing in an age protected division. And that could have been a cap, because maybe there was only 24
maybe she wasn't
masters
sure.
and wasn't sure, and maybe she just obviously wanted to sign up there. I give her all the credit in the world for doing whatever she wants. Of course, I was a little surprised to see that. I think I noticed that on the reg list on the way here today, or a little earlier.
That is very surprising.
Yeah. I'll find out tomorrow.
Knowing Des, I would have to think that it had to be a cap thing. She's been pretty consistent in playing in age-protected divisions over the last few years.
Yeah, she's played in an FP40, an FPO, and an FP50 event this year. So, yeah, not sure. She's also played and won at these courses before in FPO years ago. So maybe it's a confidence thing, and that's where she wants to be. Clearly, I make no judgments as to where she goes. I was just a little surprised, especially seeing she's eligible in 2 of the other divisions.
Is Own playing FPO or FP40? Own
Um,
Scoggins.
I believe
I thought I heard
she
FPO.
is playing in FPO.
Okay. I thought that's where she was playing, but I just wanted to to run that through, because I was just like thinking, like, she could obviously play FP40
And interestingly enough, we watched Lisa Fakis make her I don't know if it was her master's debut. I think it was at the Tim Selinsky a few months ago, last month actually, just in New Mexico, where she finished 2nd or 3rd. And Lisa Fakis is also playing FPO. Now we know there's more money there. There's 79 women.
They're going to pay out way deeper.
One of the largest fields that you'll ever see in FPO.
24 FP40, I think.
I think there's 24, exactly. So, for whatever that's worth. But I was just, I noticed that today. I'm not seeing that I know of any other FP40 eligible competitors. Not that I'm out to call them out or worry about it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I know.
It's just an interesting thing to note. Yeah. And real quick, in our FP40 division, we have Jen Allen as your highest rated at 964. Holly Finley at 940. Holly Finley lived in Wisconsin, has played these courses quite a few times. Stephanie Vincent out of Texas, and Christine King, which is still her maiden name. I think it's Christine King Smith now. But those are your top 4 rated FP40 competitors, and we'll see Melinda Ring and Ellen Widboom right behind them. So super excited. And then FP50, I know this might shock you, but highest rated FP50 player we have playing is Juliana Korver.
Not shocking.
Where there's 6. So I think
does she have an FP50 major? She does. I
just assume she's got them all.
Well, and that was my question. Like, knowing she could play FP40 and win, I don't keep track of how long she's been in the age-protected divisions. I just know she's been there for a while. This could be, in my eyes, her first year in the FP50 division. And maybe she's going for, she wants all the Infinity Stones and wants, and that's just kind of how she's collecting them. I don't know how often
she won going back to, we'll say, 2022. That might have been her first year of FP50.
Okay.
She won the Tim Selinsky as a major there. She won the Tim Selinsky in 2023. Yeah. She won the Tim Selinsky in 2025 in that division. So, yeah. She does have some of those FP50.
Yeah, she's got all the Infinity Stones. Awesome.
Yeah. So, anyway, that's super excited. Well, I'm sorry.
Super Silver excited?
Super Silver excited. Let me double check this real quick as to what our total number of competitors. I should know this by now.
I think it's just a lot. I think that's what they said.
335. And I'm not sure where that rates against all the other U.S. women's, but I'm guessing it's in that kind of neighborhood. So excited to see it this weekend. As we said, pretty much in our backyard. Courses and properties that Johnny and I are both familiar with. And lots of people, I think one of the most photographed holes in the entire sport of disc golf will in fact be on display. And we're talking about the Lighthouse hole, which you'll see out at the Super Silver course. I think it's now, excuse me for not knowing, I think it's specifically hole 13 now. It's been probably 9 different numbers. But
it has moved
now
around.
It's 13. The point is,
okay.
You'll when you see it, you'll know what we're talking about.
A hole I was never a fan of. The green. The basket. I never liked it as elevated as it was. To me, it's too elevated. Just in general, I don't mind elevated baskets like the ones the Pro Tour has. I always felt that the Lighthouse hole was too elevated,
especially with the wind coming off Lake Michigan.
And I'm curious as to see, because I haven't played Rolling Ridge in a while. I think it's hole 3, that long one that plays to the pyramid. Or is that 4?
4 played down to 4 or 5 played to the pyramid. 3 is the long 1,000-footer.
Yes, okay.
On an elevated teeing area.
Yeah, on the elevated teeing area.
But 4, I think it's 4 or 5. Then I think it's 4 that plays down to the pyramid.
Down to the pyramid. I didn't like that one either. Is it still there?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'll tell you on Thursday.
My complaint with that one particularly was always the way the pyramid was built.
Because you couldn't really lay up on it.
Kind of that even if you lay up, like you could hit and just bounce down, but that the stairs are so shallow that I always felt like in a little bit of rain or just, you have to be very careful walking up that pyramid.
Yeah, and for all we know, they've put grip tape on.
And I don't know exactly. I have no clue.
Again,
I haven't played.
I'll find out come Thursday.
Yeah, I haven't played in quite a few years, but I'll hopefully get a chance to see it on Thursday if. As long as the weather isn't really bad, because I can't imagine bringing my daughter out in the rain. Wouldn't be much fun. I would go out.
Before we move off of this topic of the U.S. Women's, which I'm super excited about, tomorrow is the press conference. So, and I normally don't do this, but if there's questions, legitimate questions, excluding the one that just came in, which is Silva married? Which is a fair question, or isn't she married? I guess that's a fair question for fodder here, but that wouldn't be necessary at the press conference. I think the answer is no.
No, I don't think she's married.
But anyway, if there's legitimate questions that you guys have for some of the players that I could list off, I'd be interested to hear them. I'll be writing them all over the next, 12 or 15 hours. If you've got questions, shoot me a message or put it in the message thingy right now, the chat board, I think we call it. Feel free to put it there if you have any questions. Okay, that's what I could say to that. Because it's always kind of funny. Like, I have one perspective of what I do as a quote unquote analyst and sideline reporter, and of course, I very intimately saw so many things that happened last weekend.
Is the list of people who are going to be on the press conference out there? Because obviously every person you're going to have a different question for. I would like to see, hopefully Haley is on the list. I would love to ask her about how she's feeling versus when she came to Wisconsin, how she feels these courses compare with, the ones they played in Madison at Elver, even though you and I both know the answer to that. That's a question you'd ask so the public could hear that answer. And, are they comparable at all? And this and that, blah, 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 blah. But the list, I don't know if people have the list of people that are going to be.
I was going to rattle it off quickly, but now I don't know where I put it.
All right. Well, just in general, if you have general questions, you can assume that there's probably going to be 7-8 people that you're going to ask.
Yeah, it is. And I was going to say most of them, as you can imagine.
The top women, Haley.
There's a lot of people that you would expect. So let me just give you 2 seconds because I got it right here. So I will read our list includes Kristen Lett, Silva Saarinen, Holland Hanley, Missy Gannon, Val Mundahano, Evelina Salonen, Haley King, Paige Pierce, and Cadence Burge. So not probably any real surprises there. So
Val Mundahano's the only surprise, honestly, because she hasn't won recently. She just had a good weekend, and she's been playing pretty well, but not taking home any victories. Why there's a specific?
Well, it's hard when Holland and Missy take them off.
I know that's what I'm saying. She's the only. Not that I have any problem with her being there. It's just funny that they would pick her.
She's 13th in the world standings.
Versus
no, excuse me.
She's
15th in the world standings and coming off of a really good weekend. And
I just think that it's funny. And
if you hate Val, just say it. Jeez.
I take this event and kind of put it aside versus how the tour is, and maybe that's part of my problem, in that, like, I would be focusing on the top FPO. What you've done on the tour recently, unless you've just won, I mean, you could have Rebecca Cox there as well. Like,
sure.
It just that's why my thought about having Val there is kind of like, I wonder why Val. Is there a specific reason to have Val there versus a versus a Rebecca Cox? Just other than
I
the
think
fact
because
that
they don't hate her like you.
Well, that's I'm a known Mondahano hater. Just
Yeah, that too.
clearly.
Anyway, so if you have something, I see a couple things have come in. I like it, including why does Silva always whip out her iPhone on the course in between shots? Maybe she wants to eliminate chit-chat with her competitors.
What's she checking? Is she checking scores, social media? Is she playing a game? Because we saw Kat used to play games on her phone. Like, is she a Candy Crush girl? I don't know.
Yeah.
Ask her.
Okay. In my broken finish?
Yeah. Ask her what her security code on her phone is.
She'll tell me and I won't understand anything.
I know.
I think that is her security code. It's the fact that no one else knows her finish. So, and while we're on the subject of women, Ashley Vitchie celebrating a birthday tonight. And
Dana's
today.
better half.
Dana Vitchie, good friend of the show. I think we're giving away more discs because of him.
Another climb.
So it only makes sense that Ashley also gets a shout out. She's a disc golfer herself, may be eligible for some age protected golf now, but Ashley Vitchie. I didn't say what age.
True.
So
but I don't. That's really bad the other way.
Anyway, happy birthday to Ashley Vitchie. And maybe the guy Gannon should be taking notes from, Bobby Brown.
Getting married tomorrow.
Getting married. So quickly
on
want to
a
get a shout
Wednesday.
out. 6/18 is probably a special date, was my guess.
I mean, I'm happy for him.
Of course, congrats. We're preemptively saying
and
that. It's got to be a special date for a special reason.
I don't necessarily think that's the case. It doesn't
You
have to be.
just think a Wednesday sounding?
Sure. He's
like hump day? He wants to take it to another level? What are you? What are you? I mean,
this is not his
because it's
first.
a deeper discount than Fridays even?
Maybe, yes.
I mean,
this is not his first rodeo.
Okay.
And many times when it's not your first rodeo, you are just you are happy you found someone you love. The ceremony and the stuff doesn't necessarily matter. So why not do it on a Wednesday? Why not? We'll ask him. He's off for the next couple days, I'm sure. But next time we chat with him, we'll ask him why he chose that date. Maybe it does have some significance. Maybe it's the day they met a couple years ago, some anniversary. Who knows?
I would bet a couple of
necessarily.
frisbees that the specific date has an extra special meaning. I don't think they just threw a dart at a calendar.
Like the day he met Robert McCall.
Could be. I mean, that's when true love is found.
Yeah.
And while we're in a little bit of the love and caring side of things, continued best of luck to in every possible way to Ben Askren. Well, we mentioned it briefly on the show last week. He has been going through a really difficult time and has been in the hospital, and it's now been posted that he's been on a ventilator and an ECMO machine, and his wife has made some updates, and I know it's also circulating throughout the wrestling community, the disc golf community, and everything else. But basically right now, the last that I had heard is that he's in line for a lung transplant.
Probably a double,
possibly, even double lung transplant, actually. So, again, nothing but love to him and his wife and his family and his kids and everyone else. Hope everything.
We're hoping for a speedy and full
that
recovery.
Things can get. He's been in trouble now for a minute, if we're just being blunt, and hopefully things start going all in the right direction for him and the family. So I wanted to get that in there.
Yeah, according to her post, there has been at least some ups with some of the downs, and that they've been able to take him off some medications, and he has been slightly responsive, which is good. So there's that. But yeah, like you said, just nothing but best wishes. So
yeah, and it started. He had ultimately a staph infection, and then developed pneumonia, and it was in a Las Vegas hospital for a while, and then ultimately was brought to the Milwaukee area here. I don't know which hospital he's at here in the Milwaukee area, but I know he's back here in the Milwaukee area.
Him, just wander around.
What's that?
We could probably find him. Let's go to a few hospitals. And
yeah, that would be one way to do it. But yeah. So anyway, we wish them all the best, and an outpouring of support, obviously, from the disc golf community, but also from the entire wrestling community and everyone else that he's involved with. So, all right.
Let's talk a few other events this past weekend. A couple A tiers. The Lincoln County Classic 5 in MPO. Dom Chi wins this by 1 throw over Connor Rock. Third place was Lucas Wright. Over on FPO, Sarah May wins by 3 strokes over Mariah Yeager and Liz Torek. That is one event. Discraft's Oakland County Championship. That's out of Milford, Michigan. I know Milford. Winning this one, Jesse Longnecker wins over Nick Robertson. Third place, Elijah Bickle. In FPO, we've got Megan Doffel. Is it Doffel or Dofel, you think? I'm going to go with Dofel. Megan Dofel wins over Sandy Hendel.
Is it Megan or Megan?
Oh, that's honestly could be. It could be. But I'm going to go with Megan.
I don't know her. I believe I would guess Megan.
There's no H, so it's just Megan. It could be Megan. But yeah, we're going to go Megan. Wins over Sandy Hendel. Third place, Taylor Edwards. So congratulations there. And that's really kind of it. There was a few of them over in Sweden, but I'm not going to try to pronounce their names. I'm sorry, Swedish people. I love you, but your names wrecked me.
I believe I saw Annale Tugas Manastay out at the course today.
Who did you?
Yes. A bunch of people getting warmed up out there, and I think she typically sports the pink flavor of hair or some pink in it. So it's easy to spot her as she was running across the fairway. All right. Is that it for all we're worried about? Yeah.
Next week we keep talking about the USWDGC, but there is also there's a Pro Tour event next week as well. If I can pull that up.
The Q Series event.
Q Series, yes.
I think there's more than one, actually. Honestly. So Infinite Disc Beehive Classic, which was covered via my channel last year. So that's taking place out in Utah. Best of luck to everyone out there. And then did I not see, I was going to say in, Brewster Ridge. Okay, so not something going on there. I apologize. I thought there was somewhere out in Vermont, they were having a Q Series event, but it doesn't appear to be the case. So, but I know Beehive was going on this upcoming weekend. And then a lot of our MPO competitors will be at the Majestic in Minnesota this upcoming weekend. That's an event that we saw on the Pro Tour way back in year 1, playing Blue Ribbon Pines and some of the other places. So there's going to be a very stout field, needless to say, at the Majestic this weekend.
Yeah, Matteo, Austin Turner, Kale, Joe Revere playing
coming for
MPO.
A little practice.
Yeah, getting
Pro Worlds practice, Pro Masters Worlds.
It's like, I just want to get to know where I'm going to kick all your guys' asses.
I want to get comfortable in my house.
That's right.
Emerson Keith, Adam Hammis, Luke Taylor, Andrew Presnell, Noah Meinsma, Jake Hebenheimer, Greg Barsby. So, yeah, there's going to be a pretty solid field all over there as well in Minnesota taking place. And that should be a Go Throw event, even though it's not listed, I think, in the title there.
You're right.
I believe it is a Go Throw event.
You're right.
So
that is
all
a Go Throw.
The fun stuff that goes along with it.
It's like the one sanctioned Go Throw event.
I'll say this.
Maybe 2.
We had to let Gannon go, but that was going to be my only other question for him is, OMG, Gannon, you look to be having an actual weekend off from sanctioned play at least. Yeah, because he's not in there. From sanctioned play. And I know he said something in one of the interviews about going home and maybe still working on his game because he needs that. But he, as of now, looks like he does not have sanctioned golf this weekend. So, which I, of course, love. That
I think
he might take a little breather.
I think he said he's got this week off, then he plays the Des Moines Challenge, or it's not the Des Moines Challenge anymore, even though that's what he kept calling it. It's the Discmania Challenge.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just renamed. It's still in Des Moines.
The Discmania Des Moines Challenge, though? That's probably what it is.
I think it's just the Discmania Challenge.
Oh. That kind of seems weird, like, to name that.
The 2025 Discmania Challenge.
Presented by TrueBank.
So, anyway. But then I believe he has a week off after that before Worlds. Or not before Worlds, but before he flies overseas to play at, like, the PCS or something. So, I believe he's got a 1 week break on each side of Discmania Challenge, and he's going to use it to travel overseas, I think. So, yeah, just a slow couple of weeks after kind of we had a long run up to USWDGC, it feels like.
Doxon says we didn't want to mention the Charlotte Amateur Championship because of the winner's name. Uh-oh. Are you, Johnny V? Johnny V's not scared, but it was the Amateur Championship. That's why it wasn't mentioned.
Yeah.
Not to be...
What event was it?
Charlotte Amateur Championship. I think amateur was the reason why we typically just don't cover or talk about a lot of... It's so funny that you do that instead of clicking on the...
Clicking on what?
On the little cup.
Oh,
you can click on the cup.
Sure, but I can click on the name of the event. It brings me to the same place.
No, I know. It's just funny that you click on...
The name is bigger, though, and it's right here. Like,
yes, because your eyes are getting worse.
Right. Yeah.
Jacob Stoner wins. Congratulations, Jacob Stoner. He looks like a playoff over Zeb Kaler, over Fisher Gibson.
Congratulations.
No, I'm not afraid to mention Stoner. I don't know just how. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, no, we just usually don't talk about AM majors, or unless it's an AM major, I should say.
Yeah,
we don't talk about AM A tiers.
AM A tiers.
Anyway, all right. Doc says a Stoner won a disc golf championship. Yeah, it's
shocking.
Yeah, it appears that way. And Billy Lunn's out on the board. Good to see you, Billy. You're saying you're on your way to Bourbon Cowboy, but I tried to get you go like 4 nights in a row at
and he would only go 3?
Yeah, and he was too scared to walk in there. So I had to make a whole bunch of new friends, and I had no problem doing that. So you missed out, Billy.
That's not shocking.
Billy. All right. Yeah, I think that's it. PDGA, I'll give an update because 2 people have now emailed me in the last 24 hours. The interviews for all the PDGA board of director candidates are completed. I think I completed them a week ago now, but they're officially complete. I just have to render them out and hit like publish on it. And I was debating if I needed to add any more graphics to it to like put their name on it anymore. But needless to say, that will be a top priority when I have 10 extra seconds. It's going to take more than that, but I got them cut up. I got them all in edit mode, and then we can put all 5 of them out, and they'll all go out at the same time. You'll be able to hit 1.25, 1.5, 1.75 speed, whatever you want, but we'll be able to get those all released. So you'll be able to watch them on YouTube if you'd like. Is there, I guess, if I sent over audio files over to somebody at the PDGA, could they still put it on their PDGA podcast app?
Sure.
If the podcast hasn't really been running lately, I feel like it'd be a good place to load them up anyway.
Yeah, you could put them there. You could just load them up, and then people would download them. Yeah, assuming download, assuming that their feed is still that they're still paying for their feed.
Okay.
I would guess that they are. Just it would make sense not to get rid of it for PDGA radio.
Okay. Anyway, I'm sure some people would love to see that in their podcast feeds as well. And again, isn't there just a button I can click to put it in my YouTube that way? We'll figure it out. All right. When is JVD's next tournament? That sounds like after show fodder. We'll get there. I don't know if there's anything else you need to worry about covering. The major is very much consuming my brain. The preserve was awesome to cover. Happy Father's Day again to everyone out there. It was another year of being out at the DOS residence and seeing a little 2-year-old, almost 2-year-old running around. Puts another perspective on Father's Day to see their son Luca running around. So it was a lot of fun. But all in all, a good weekend. Oh, and we saw the match play on Thursday as well. And I think Paige and Madison are doing their match play event tomorrow. I think they've been in like makeup mode.
Sure.
And so it's going to be filmed. And that's going to take place tomorrow, but it will not be broadcast live, but it will be, they're scheduled to play it. All right, we're going to close out the regular show.
Let's wrap it up.
We don't need to let it linger. Do you have to let it linger?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you to Gannon Buhr for stepping inside the Smashbox and coming on to chit chat with us a little bit. Looking forward, I'll be on the course this weekend, the 2 courses, as Johnny mentioned. I'll be out at the Roland Ridge for the first 2 rounds, and then I'll be sideline reporting over at Super Silver for the second set of rounds, rounds 3 and 4, otherwise known as. And super looking forward to get back out on the course. Ian Anderson and Valerie Jenkins will be in the booth this weekend while I'm on the course. So I'll give you that heads up. For Johnny V, I'm Terry Miller. Thank you again to Gannon Buhr. We're going to take a quick break. And then when we come back, we've got giveaways. We can talk about other random stuff. We'll see you then.
Whatever you want.
When you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV Podcast 562's After Show.
You had some really good duck puns this weekend.
Thanks.
Yeah. I mean, there were some easy ones where they were waddling or
credit to Mo on that one. He said the word waddle, and then I infused it a sentence or two later.
Mm-hmm.
Because I said there's a long walk to the next tee, and then Mo's like, or it's a long waddle, and then later I used waddle. So I'll give credit to Mo on that one. But that one worked.
Yep. I did. I think at one point you said, "What the duck?"
Yeah. What the duck is going on out here?
What the duck is going on out here? I laughed so hard. I don't know. I know I'm easily amused at times, but just I think the subtlety of which you said it. And you didn't emphasize it too much and just moved on. It was classy.
Thank you.
It was classy. Yeah, there was 1 or 2 other ones that you had done.
I'll admit, I'll spoil this one. On Saturday, and usually I swear I do not plan anything if that's not obvious. But on Saturday, when I saw the geese on both Friday and Saturday,
the 2
on
hot
hole
geese?
7. They were near the basket on hole 7, both days.
The 2 hot geese?
No, not those 2 hot geese. There was a couple of geese on hole 7 hanging out. Because I remember thinking, like, man, are they distracting? Are they protecting something? Whatever. I was so ready for them to be in frame, to be there and in frame on Sunday, because it had hit me that I would say, oh, we're all good now, finally, to play a little duck, duck, goose out here. Because, yeah.
Sure.
I was excited, and then there was no geese on Sunday there.
Yeah, it would have been. You could have again used that with either Madison or Erica, but we didn't really see them this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, it was.
Either would have been acceptable.
Yeah, and like I said, I held off talking about the seriousness of our sport when I saw it originally on Saturday afternoon as we were tapping out. So it was cool. Right on their website, they tell you the purpose is to spread kindness. You look at a duck, you laugh, you chuckle, you hopefully have a pleasant memory, if any, or it's just something to talk about that's funny and cute.
It's
harmless.
It's 100%. And I have to wonder, like, during Kristen's interview, Kristen Lott, she had kind of looked at it and was kind of like, yeah, only in America. But I immediately thought, I'm like, did she grow up with Sesame Street?
Probably not.
Like I mean, I know Sesame Street is worldwide, but it's
That's
clearly
a good question.
It's clearly not there. And because when I see that, and I am still neck deep in Sesame Street and Ernie and Rubber Ducky because my daughter loves it. I paused it. She came running in and was so excited. I showed her the time lapse of it inflating, and again, this is a girl who I bet you we probably have 50 different rubber ducks in this house right now. 3 Ernies. There's a picture of her at Sesame Place hugging Ernie with this giant duck, which not nearly as big as Mama Duck. It's probably only like 15 feet tall behind them. Like, I am in completely engulfed in Sesame Street and Ducky, so I got a kick out of it. But that's what made me think, like, does that bring them the same type of joy and understanding of youth like a Rubber Ducky does to us in the United States because of Sesame Street? I feel like that, and granted, rubber ducks don't always equate with it, but it kind of does. It's kind of taken over. Like, when you think of Rubber Ducky, you think of Ernie, you think of, the song. I was waiting for you to pull out some song lyrics. I was really hoping for, like,
no, I didn't go there.
You didn't go there, and that's why I was curious. I'm like, I wonder if she has the same emotional attachment to that
or even knowledge or attachment at all.
Yeah, or if she just thinks, like, why is there a giant rubber duck here?
Sure.
Which would still be cool, but maybe doesn't have the full understanding culturally. I don't know. And maybe she does, and maybe Ernie and the Rubber Ducky song is universal. Because, like I said, I know Sesame Street is all over the world, but is that slice of Sesame Street everywhere? I don't know.
Well, and to be fair, clearly, when you look at all of the overall commercialism, capitalism, and everything else that takes place in the U.S., we are and I can say this because of being in a place like Finland, Estonia, Sweden, Norway, driving their countryside with a lot less people overall in those countries, driving their countryside looks very different than ours. I mean,
sure,
there's a lot of natural beauty, things like billboards and signs. The one thing that surprises me that has become, to me, so incredibly iconic with or associated with those countries is you drive by, I don't want to say just a mall, but you drive by some really large office spaces, and almost billboard-like, they have their massive logos on that building to the point where it's like, okay, that's your version almost of a billboard.
Sure, yeah.
And it sounds silly, but it's like there's so many buildings that we have that I feel are, I don't want to say inconspicuous, but it's like you wouldn't necessarily know that it's, we'll say, a smaller brand like Joe Schmo's, carburetors. But if there's Joe Schmo's carburetors there, like, their massive branding among a bunch of the other brands are all right there. And I guess that's their form of advertisement. And maybe they're just limited to only having that, so they all make the most of it. That, to me, is what feels so different when you go there. But, yeah, I don't know. It was a funny remark and observation by her. And I think of all those countries I just mentioned, there's a whole lot of natural beauty that's just not cluttered up like we have.
It depends where in the U.S.
I feel like there's more, and again, maybe it's a terrible analogy, but I feel like there's more lights and street signs in Milwaukee, Wisconsin than there is in all of Estonia.
Probably, yeah.
clearly, I know the populations are different. We have a population of roughly 1 million or so in Milwaukee. They have 5 million in Estonia, or 2 million. We still have more signs in one city than they have in the entire country. Just very different.
Doc Zen on the board says, in Estonia, the local version of Sesame Street is called Sisamti, and Alpha is their big star, as opposed to maybe Elmo, which is what we have. Elmo's kind of our big
Alpha Big Bird.
I mean, I don't necessarily know they're the same, that they are 1-to-1. Usually the Muppets, they tend to look a little different.
Anyway,
although sometimes they do kind of have some overlap. It's not always a 1-to-1, but yeah. So that was the remark that struck me, and I was happy to see the duck. Obviously, like I said, I thought it was cool. I thought it was funny. I thought it was really fun that I got to see a picture of that. The cameras got to go inside of it. Yeah. I was like, that is cool.
That was an exclusive of sorts. Yeah.
I mean, I know Joey Tamale showed a picture later of him and Silva in there, but I was just like, oh, that's cool. You got to go inside the duck. I'd like to go inside that duck.
Yeah, you would. Mama duck.
Yeah.
A little mama duck.
Mm-hmm. So.
Somebody was really mad on Facebook and said, why do they keep calling it mama duck? Because it's a... if it's a duckling, like it's not a mama.
I mean, they didn't say it's a duckling.
Use your imagination.
It's a rubber duck, which is a type of duck. I mean, I understand all yellow ducks are usually little ducks, but they're ducklings.
Let's switch to something that's far more serious.
Okay.
And pertinent, and especially serious when we talk about our sport. Morning wood.
You read that? I saw the slide up first before I even heard you reading it.
Mm-hmm. And what were you thinking?
And when I saw it, I just shook my head. I was like, I didn't think at the time. I mean, this was literally seconds, I think, before you started, or you maybe were into your read without saying the company name. And up pops a thing. It said Morning Wood. It's WOULD.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked at it and I kind of shook my head. I was like, ugh, like companies. And then you started your ad read, and all I kept I was laughing. I texted you and I was just like, you have to make this read, this ridiculous read. And I mean, no offense to the Pro Tour. Money, money's money. The check all cashes the same way. I don't find it offensive enough where you wouldn't take the money. I do think there's, some, I don't know, irony is not the right word, that we do have restrictions on some things that the PDGA and the Pro Tour will take money from, which are pretty common these days.
Mm-hmm.
But, this, it's not, is it a sexual innuendo, or is it just like it's not necessarily sexual, it's more of a body, just a body function of a man? That is the innuendo, or the it's not an innuendo, it's a synonym, maybe. Synonym, is that the word that, because if you're using the same word, anyway, whatever it is, that it's Morning Wood, and you had to make an ad read. It made me laugh, and I texted you and I laughed at you, and I was like, you have to do that twice a day for the next couple of days.
Yeah, and it's an ad. Ads go in places, but I'm not going to lie, it feels a little odd also reading it and the FPO coverage, and it's a company and it's an ad read. It is what it is, but yeah, I openly admitted and complained and said, I'm not excited that I'm the first host that has to read this ad. Like, why couldn't they have signed it on and maybe Ian Anderson
would you
had
have
to
been
read
more
it first
excited
last
if you had to read it first thing in the morning?
I did. That's I know. So anyway, I did not search any kind of feedback.
I think people.
I would have been shocked though. I would have been shocked if there wasn't someone giving either the Pro Tour or myself a hard time about it.
Was. I don't think anyone's giving you a hard time about it. The Pro Tour, some people are giving a hard time. Just because, again,
that's fair. They can fight that fight. But
exactly. Like I said, everybody knows you. Everybody knows that in that position, you are the, I'm
just the mouthpiece.
Just the mouthpiece. Now, is there a better mouthpiece to have? Maybe not. The best part though is, oh my God, the favorite is the ad read. And then like the 6 seconds of dead silence.
Which you know why.
As nobody wants to be the first word after you finish up your morning wood read. Everyone waits and just they don't want to say the wrong word. They don't want to say like you don't want to actually accidentally say something, that just it could be associated with it. So everyone stays quiet and then you go back into discussion.
Or my color commentator sitting next to me
laughing probably
are holding in their laughter, and they're doing everything they can to not bust out in laughter. Yeah. That could be what was happening.
I'm sure that I can picture Val just away from the mic, like just grinning ear to ear, laughing at you that you have to make this ad read. That's when what you need to do is be like, you have to read this.
And they would both be like,
just no.
There'd just be a lot of silence because they wouldn't jump in to take over. I promise you. So
I did send you. It was Father's Day, and I pulled up the picture here. My wife got me a present for Father's Day that she thought was very funny, not realizing the ad read that you had. And this is going to be a video, so you're gonna have to. It is some cream. It is called Happy Nuts
for squirrels?
Comfort cream.
Oh.
It is basically an anti-chafing cream. She knows that, I'm going to try to start. I'm playing more golf again lately. And back when I was playing a lot, there were always some issues depending on what you were wearing and the heat and whatnot. And so she comes in and she's chuckling. And this, I swear to God, Terry, this was like moments before your ad read. And so she hands this to me. She's like, oh, look at this. And then that ad read. And I sent you the picture. I said, look at this. I thought it was very funny.
It's no morning wood.
It's no morning wood, but it was Happy Nuts.
Yeah.
So my wife was thinking of me. And Happy Father's Day.
Yeah. We're so lucky.
Oh, yeah.
We're so blessed.
So blessed.
So that was an interesting part of the weekend. I heard on our Tuesday or Wednesday company call that they had signed on. And I did not at that point put 2 and 2 together that, there's going to be an ad read for me, and I'll be the first one to do it this weekend. So that was, that was all part of it.
I look forward to... I mean, do we know how many events there?
I don't know if it's the rest of the year, if it's 2 events, 10 events. Sometimes I think there's some agreement as to if they see success, a certain amount of success, maybe it's a test run, so to speak. And if there's successful purchases or visits or hits or whatever, then maybe they sign on for more. I don't know any of the actual contractual details. I just know I'm the lucky feller that gets to make the references and read the advertisement.
And knowing who our other 2 people are that would make those reads, probably Ian or Charlie. Yeah, I know you don't want me here. I think you're the best one to make that, to dive into that pool.
Thanks? Question mark?
Yeah, because just your entire persona is a little bit looser. And you tend to make a few more jokes. Not that you're going to make a joke about this. It's in general, an ad read, you don't usually want to joke about the the sponsors in general. But sometimes with like Barbasol, they'll put it on your face. Was it kind of worked into that.
I just gotta not mix my reads together.
That's right. You gotta be careful. And so I will be very interested to hear the ad reads when Ian has to do it.
Yeah, maybe as early as this weekend.
Maybe they're doing that. Would not no. Here's what I'm saying: DGPT, PDGA. If I don't care what that check is.
Oh, now you draw the line.
Not this weekend. Give them an extra week on the back end somewhere. Don't do it during USWDGC. It just doesn't make any sense. I think that the double entendre. Just let's not.
For the women's only event.
For the women's only event. Let's just not.
I'm gonna cheat. And I'm going to see if the ad reads are ready for this weekend yet. Because I have access to that document.
So please, just don't. Just don't. But I want to hear Charlie make that read because he always has kind of a professional persona. I want to hear Ian make that read because I want to hear Philo starts laughing about it.
Or he'll make his own jokes after.
Yeah, exactly. These are the different scenarios that I want to see.
Well, We'll see. We'll see if it's available. Because
do the two geese get to make that ad read?
I see it in an ad read area right now. Now, this is a templated out file, so that doesn't guarantee.
It could just be copied from last week.
Yes. So, but,
for USWDGC.
Yeah, USWDGC. Now,
please don't.
It may not be. It might not be truly in the run up, and it's just still on the template.
Yeah. No, I know, but please don't.
Oh. Either way, it won't be me reading it.
I know. Until they make you do it from the course. Terry, throw down to you. We got this ad read. Just it's on your phone. Please
I'm like, no, it's afternoon. We're starting at 2:00 or later every day. I'm not having this conversation, Ian. Back to you. So
if I were Ian, I would so throw you the ad read. I just check your phone.
Yeah.
Click. Oh, we're having a problem in the booth, Terry. You need to take over.
Anyway, so that was that went down this week, and like I said, I'm sure there were comments out there somewhere. Obviously it is what it is, but these are days where
I will say if it is on this weekend, I hope that was a significant amount of cash for that. I just don't think it's not appropriate. I just don't think it is. I don't think it fits, and it's the wrong.
I mean, it's you got electrolytes and stuff.
I'm not questioning the product by any means. I've never tried the product.
What I mean.
I don't know anything about the product.
It seems like
I'm just.
Benjamin, I've been jamming, says, yo, Terry and JVD. Yo. I had the pleasure of running around with the blimp mic this past weekend. Hearing all the behind the scenes on the DGN call was awesome. The whole team kicks ass. Well, I wouldn't go that far, but of course. Well, first of all, thank you. I don't know anything about, we have like a new hyperbolic, is that the word? Or blimp mic in his? Yeah. One's been added to the broadcast. I haven't physically been there for it because I haven't been on site for any events this year. I will see it tomorrow or the next day. And Benjamin, I saw you running around. I didn't know who's in charge of that or how it gets done, but I'm kind of excited to see what it all...
That must be a mic. I mean, we talked about this years ago. God, I remember Joe Mez had brought a parabolic to USWDGC, and we've talked about it even before that, because thinking how it would be set up, how you'd have to put it on like one channel of one of your cameras, because if that mic, if it's just a microphone, you're not going to spend the money for its own live view just for the audio. So you're probably spinning it off of like the catch cam maybe, or maybe the throw cam, and just soloing off the two channels, and one's going to be the parabolic or the blimp mic, whatever you want to call it. They might be different things, and I might just be interchanging them. I don't know. And one is going to be like your onboard. You're probably your stick mic. So that's interesting that they actually are finally doing it. And I've heard some people say that they're hearing more coarse audio. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but maybe that's just perception.
Okay. Yeah. So blimp mic. Yeah, with like a big dead cat is what I think I saw you running around with, as opposed to.
Okay. So it is just like, it's like a giant dead cat. It's almost like it almost looks like a boom mic. But that's why they call it the blimp mic, because it's shaped kind of like a blimp. It's not the parabolic
which has
hold,
the cone like
that pulls in a lot of data. Okay, so
but anyway,
they are two separate things.
Yeah. So excited to check it out. Hopefully it's in use this weekend, and hopefully it's not near me saying something I shouldn't be saying.
I'm going to be whispering sweet nothings into its ear.
So I guess that kind of leads into the whole idea that I got to follow up the damn good job that Grant did this weekend, and that's a tall task.
He's so good. You're never going to follow that up. I mean, why even
with
try?
A stepladder? No, I can't follow up that tall task.
No.
It was great having him out there. It's always great to have, obviously, but I've typically, the few times I've been on calls lately, which hasn't been much this year, but it's often been either Perkins or Brian Earhart, both of which, of course, I love working with just the same. But Grant was the newer guy this weekend. I don't know what Grant's schedule is in terms of how often he's with the network. Obviously, he's done a number of things throughout the last couple of years, and it was great having him out there. He obviously has a way with words that I very much applaud and appreciate and envy in the way he can describe things.
Stuff. He can describe word
He
good.
talk pretty one day. That's a book.
Yep. I'm sorry, everybody else. He's the best on-course guy we have right now, period. He's better than you, better than Perk, better than Earhart, better than Germ, better than Melton.
Than you.
Better than I would be. I mean, just he's the best, period. He's got a great voice. He's very well spoken. He has a vocabulary and a way to describe what's happening that's solid. The only suggestions I would even have for him would be that maybe once in a while it's almost too much, that he just needs to wrap up his thought a little quicker and get and give a little bit more time to breathe. Like, for instance, when they throw down to him for calling like an entire set of throws, which a whole, like, usually they'll say, all right, Grant, you're going to call hole
all
6.
these drives, yeah,
all these drives. That it's a very well-spoken, constant stream. I would love just a couple breaths in there, I think. But other than that, he's so good. He's so good. So good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to sound like an idiot.
I know. Like I said, I don't want to follow it up.
Have you ever read the book Cyrano de Bergerac?
No.
You know the concept?
Maybe? I don't know. Explain it and I'll tell you.
Ugly guy who is looking for love.
I don't like where this is going already.
He's very well spoken, but the good looking guy's dumb, so the ugly guy just talks into his ear all the time.
Oh, okay.
So if you can get, it's kind of that way, but if you just get Grant to just talk in your ear the whole time, and then you can spit out what he says, maybe everyone will love you.
Okay. Well, we'll see if disc golf does. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll try.
No offense.
None taken. I think the question, which I know is going to probably be a 50-50 split anyway, so maybe it's not worth asking. One strategic question is, even if he doesn't have to speak quietly or whisper, let's just say he's at catch cam. He's down near catch cam. The players are 500 feet away, and they're throwing from the tee. Should you still speak quietly, like a loud whisper, like he was doing?
No,
because I feel like that's a toss-up. Some people love that and that style, and some people don't.
Some people hate it. Some people are like, "Oh, that's too golf-like."
Exactly.
I would prefer that if he's near players and he has to whisper.
Of course.
If not,
you're saying only when needed.
Only when needed. Speak at maybe a little lower than you normally would, but it doesn't have to be a whisper. He doesn't have to project, so to speak. He can just speak a little quieter, but he doesn't need the breathy whisper. Hey, we're coming, we're on the green here. I don't think
he'd use better words.
Of course he would. He'd come
this,
up with
Kentucky sawgrass, such and such. Da, 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 da.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's whispering as I feel the winds whisper through the blades of grass.
I know. They're singing a sweet song of nothingness into my ears that have, anyway, you could argue that, but yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, that would be, obviously, I think he's very good as well. I think that's just a strategy question that has no right answer from the fact of, like you just said, some people really love that and some people really don't. I feel like some of the times he was doing it even when he didn't need to. Again, if that's the strategy that he wants to go with, I can understand it. And to be fair, if you always do it, then you're that much less likely to ever be the distraction, because obviously we don't want to be any form of distraction when you're out there. So if you're just always whispering, whether you really need to or not, that's the main benefit to it. That's what I would say. So anyway, it was great. It was a lot of fun. I enjoy working. There's no one I've never not enjoyed with, and even if I didn't, I wouldn't tell you. But I genuinely haven't, though. I enjoy working. And it's funny because there's some people that have chimed in very recently saying, hey, it'd be great to see like you and Philo. And I'm like, we've done that. It was a couple years ago. There was a handful of events that I've done with Philo. There's a handful of events that I've done with Dana and there's been a lot of team. I've been in a booth with Brian Earhart before. There's a lot of little mix-ups that have happened.
I would like to see him a little more frequently. I mean, I understand everyone has a comfort level now with like their set co-host, but we don't need to necessarily do that. I think that everybody kind of has a pretty good understanding of how the system works and their defined roles, and I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit of mix-up. You know?
Yeah,
but whatever. I don't make the schedule anymore. I'm not even part of this thing anymore. I just have ideas. Now I'm just the Yahoo that gets to spit out things and be like,
that nobody has to really listen.
Yeah,
to,
you know what I would do. You know what? Hey, guess what? This.
Mm-hmm. I was thinking before the end of the weekend, I should probably just learn Finnish, just in case I have to speak to like a Silva, and I'm going to assume Kristen's Finnish is solid. Estonian is largely based and pulled from the Finnish language, so I feel like if I speak Finnish, she'll probably understand that too. So I mean, why not?
Could you? Yeah. Could you get really good with like a Google Translate, where like if you're doing an interview, you ask her the question and then show it to her, maybe and. I'm sure she understands.
Oh yeah, she does.
It's her spitting out the words that I feel like. I mean, ultimately, it does feel like she's just in generally shy, not necessarily comfortable in front of the cameras yet. But I'm sure there's also a struggle, the language hurdle that she feels uncomfortable with, of speaking English, especially in front of a camera.
Yeah, here's what I'm gonna try.
Learn how to say morning wood in Finnish.
What I'm going to try is anytime, and it's not just her, but I attempted with both Evelina and Henna at some point. I finally made a slight adjustment where I'm going to do my best to keep my questions really as direct and short and simple as possible. I think that benefits them greatly.
Yes.
Just because there's so much less.
I don't feel like you need to do that with Evelina much anymore.
Sure.
But if you do that with Silva, you are going to get a very direct and short answer. As she wants to do. Even Grant, Simon had apparently a very good interview with her after the fact on his video. So you could maybe take a look at that. But Simon also
Did he speak in Finnish or a language she understands better?
Maybe. Probably. I don't know. It was probably in English, but they're also teammates. She's probably a little more comfortable with him as a player. There's maybe a little bit less pressure. I don't know all the answers. I have not actually watched that video yet, but I did see it out there.
All right. Well, yeah. Excited for the weekend. Should be a good time. Major here. Another cool side note, and I guess it didn't post to Instagram because I'm not smart. When I was traveling yesterday, I had a flight at 5 a.m. out of Redmond, which is essentially just outside of Bend, and I go into Denver. I had a 3.5-hour layover in Denver. While waiting for my flight in Denver, up walks, I see a bag come by, and then I see a patch on the bag that says buckets, and I immediately think that's probably Violet Maine, and it was.
Not Joey Buckets.
Not Joey Buckets, but the actual logo on the patch that says Buckets, Violet Maine, along with, I think, Jennifer Jansen. Those two come walking up. And then separately, another group of women come walking up that are also disc golfers that we all know. So very cool to see all 5 of them. And they're like, oh, you're going to U.S. Women's? I'm like, no, I'm trying to go home first, actually. I'm just going into Milwaukee like I normally do. I just got done doing the Preserve, 18 hours ago. Yeah. So that was kind of funny. And if I know this is going to sound silly, but because we only have had a couple of really big events in Wisconsin, there is an extra sense of excitement and pride of, hey, you're coming to my home state where I grew up playing disc golf, where I've been at these 2 courses since they both went in the ground. And I feel like a bad host when I'm like, okay, well, go get your rental and I'll see you up there in 2 days. Like, even though it's an hour and a half from my house, and I'm truly not a host in any sense, but it was still cool.
And we had talked about things such as maybe inviting people over here for the podcast tonight.
Sure.
But unfortunately, we are 45 minutes south of the event, and if they were coming, if more people were coming from Chicago-ish area, it would make sense, a lot of the pros, but most of the pros are coming from Minnesota, where you're driving straight across the state, and not coming down through Milwaukee. So it just kind of unfortunately didn't
unless they
add
flew
up.
in,
Unless they flew in. I was thinking this morning though, this afternoon as I was driving home on the highway, and the highway is kind of crappy and backed up. It's rush hour, and I was thinking is like, I wonder if I'm passing, or any golfers are passing me on their way up to Manitowoc. Like, did someone come in on a flight? Today would be a fine day on a Tuesday. You've got 2 days. It's like, it's a very good possibility that there's golfers from any particular division on this highway right now driving north, which you would right past my house to get here. So,
yeah. So, and I said it earlier, but I know he's out here now. Big thanks to Dave from over at the Disc Golf Dyers Guild. Him and I jumped in the car this morning to head to film the doubles action that I referenced earlier, and I'm super excited because I'm going to give you all the shot-by-shot action, as you would expect, for the 18-hole round, and then Dave exclusively focused on player interactions and reactions and all the other stuff, some really good-looking stuff that could get used for some social media or another style, as opposed to worrying about where the shot was going. So I'm not going to say entirely sort of like a Birdie Productions that we've seen out there doing some really good stuff lately in terms of capturing everything that's not necessarily where the disc lands. So I'm excited to see what he's going to work with. He's been putting out some great stuff. And I know a lot of people were dying disc this weekend as he was set up over at the Preserve and was right there. He helped move the duck at some point. So, I mean, when you're building out your resume, helped move world's largest rubber duck. That seems like
I'd probably put it on I'd put that on my resume, yeah.
You've been all up over Mama Duck. So, just saying. Anyway, so if you have any questions for some of these players that are appropriate and logical, I'm all about putting them in the chat, and I'll scrape those.
I have one comment that's going to lead right into our Patreon giveaway.
Perfect.
I saw a post this morning from one John Turlap that says he threw, I think it was the Bel Air.
Okay, yeah, I think I saw that. And where did it go?
In the bucket at Olhauser. I think he said hole 3 or hole 6 or something.
Figures. He
Yeah,
would.
He said, I think it was 3 or 6, and he said it was like his 3rd or 6th throw overall or something, and aces with the Bel Air. So John Turlap is a gentleman who is a few years older than us, one of the guys that kind of helped lead Wisconsin disc sports and did a lot of the tour stuff. Good friend of ours, just an overall great guy.
He even listens once in a while.
Oh, never mind. He's okay. He's an okay guy, but he's a very good disc golfer, and he threw one in the bucket. And tonight, we are going to give away a Climo disc. I don't know exactly which one, if it's going to be the Bel Air or it's going to be something
Maybe we'll
else.
call John Turlap and ask him just to send his over.
Send his Bel Air over.
Because we know it works.
It does. It clearly works very well. So there are 106 people eligible for tonight's giveaway. If you would like to be eligible for our giveaway, you can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Tonight, we're giving away a Climo disc. Terry Miller, I need to know. Oh, this is kind of acting a little weird.
That is weird.
It's, I guess we'll just...
Give it some morning wood.
I guess we'll just maybe roll with this. Yeah.
What are you doing?
Well, the screen, I was about to show you, the screen on the left-hand side, it must be because I updated the resolution on the screen because I'm blind and I wanted to see better. So we're just going to show this. That's fine. Tonight we'll just have to deal with that. There is, that's not the one. This is the one over here.
Dave at Disc Golf Dyers Guild said it was a heavy duck.
I bet.
I think Grant told us 750 pounds is what he told us.
No,
I think.
it was more than that.
No, I think he said 750 pounds. Because on the website, it says 15 tons. And then only after we saw some more
that's-
drone footage
Okay.
did I think they've got to be including the bricks that hold it down, the massive rocks, so to speak, or whatever those are, boulders, rocks, barriers, whatever you want to call them. Though that has to be all part of the overall weight. Because then when he opened the show with us, and I was genuinely curious because I'm like arguing about, it's got to be those bricks that are so heavy. Because there's no way just the actual vinyl pop-up
Of course not.
weighed
No.
30,000 pounds.
No.
And so Grant did the research because he's a better
Person.
than I am. And I think he told us at the open of the show it's 750 pounds, but all of the weights that have to go along with it is where the, roughly 30,000 other pounds come from.
You don't want that duck blowing away.
No. Although I kept calling for it, how awesome would it be if we could just drop it in the Mississippi for a little while and watch it?
Let it go.
Just let it go on down the Mississippi.
Yeah.
That would...
Didn't
Talk
they
about freaking you the F out. You're like out on the Mississippi, like tubing or on any other kind of boat or whatever, and it's just massive duck comes down. Oh, that would be epic.
That would be epic. All right, Terry, we have 106 people eligible for our giveaway. What number should we generate tonight?
I mean, Silva, back-to-back, 2 wins.
2 wins, so we'll do 2.
She won by 2. Yeah.
Makes a lot of sense.
Second time beating Kristen while winning.
Okay. The very first number, I sorted them by address. So if you have an address listed, it's up at the top. If you don't, you're at the bottom. The first number is 104, and the second number is 104. That's the first time we've ever done that.
I think so. Wow.
Yeah.
100, like,
that
is an outright wannabe winner. Like,
yeah, somebody wants to win. If I hit it again, it is 55. So I just want to make sure that something wasn't stuck. Yeah. So 104 and 104. So that is Joshua Montano.
Yeah.
Yeah, Joshua Montano.
Which, to me, seems like a newer name. At least someone I haven't shipped to anytime recently.
Yeah, Joshua is a Patreon supporter at the $1 level. Thank you.
And has been at it for a while. So thank you.
So thank you, Josh. We will get that information over to... I'll get your information over to Terry. Terry will get that over to Climo Discs, probably Dynamite, and we'll get you one of them Climo discs that seem to work so well.
Promised last week there was the Climo signing. Obviously, discs are still on sale. They may or may not be signed by the champ, but they were offering that last week, right there from the headquarters. Yeah, I think there might be a Climo sighting, and then therefore maybe signing. There might be a Climo sighting as early as Minnesota Pro Masters Worlds, which would be kind of cool if he's up there hanging out. He is not competing, but a little rubber ducky once told me that
he squeaked to you.
Yeah, that there might be a Climo sighting at Pro Masters Worlds. So buy a disc, win a disc, whatever, and then have him sign it that way. I think that's about all that I've got on my end, unless you have any other random things in the news. Nobody wants to hear about the 10 different stouts I got to try this weekend, barrel aged.
No, nobody wants to hear about that.
So delicious, most of them. Really good. I am so spoiled.
Yeah.
That Nate and Val not only are very well liked and respected within the brew and disc golf communities, but also have a good friend in Wes from Revolution, the band.
I've met
Wes is also a very, very, I was going to say, can you be a really stout drinker? He is a very big fan of barrel-aged stouts like myself. And he is in some very elusive stout club and then shares quite a bit of stuff. And he also knows that some of that then gets additionally shared with me as Nate opens it and offers it. And stuff that I would never be able to find or get my hands on. I had the OTB. OTB did a beer, I think multiple beers maybe, but one of them was a stout this year, and I heard it was pricey, but it was also delicious. So
I mean,
I am very thankful and blessed.
You have to pay for quality, Terry. This is how it goes.
Doc, I have not opened my online store yet, but if you want to tag somebody to beg them to get it done, Disc Golf Dyers Guild just above you is going to be helping me with that.
It's going to be helping.
And I very much appreciate it whenever it does get done. If you live within 600 feet within Tampa Bay, Climo will throw your disc. Oh, that would be pretty sweet.
It'd be great if the guy did happen to live in Tampa. Just have Climo deliver it.
Yeah, you're right.
That's a Patreon level that I don't even think we can do.
Yeah.
Just knock on the door and be like, or just meet him out of the course. Like, hey, Kenny, are you going to be out at Clearwater anytime soon?
One cool thing I got to do this weekend as well, that was kind of a first, was someone that was buying my disc in a box. Or these silly entendre was buying my disc in a box and 100 count of them. And rather than me shipping them out to Oregon, he lives in Bend. So I actually put some tape on strategically on my 23 by 15 by 13 inch box and checked it. I have free luggage, 2 free bags, so I got to check it, didn't have to pay for it, brought it with me, and then after one of the broadcast days, I simply drove it over to his house and dropped it off on his front porch. He said he had strep and just got back from getting diagnosed with strep throat. I'm like, we're not going to meet today, but I'm going to leave these boxes and bags for you. So that was a pretty cool thing to be able to do as well, is just hand deliver all the way across the country 100 count of boxes. So if anybody needs boxes, I'm your guy. We can call it. I'm looking forward to an awesome weekend. Doc Zen, we know how big of a Johnny V fan you are, so your chance this weekend, get up to Manitowoc. Johnny V's making an appearance. I don't know what time his booth times are scheduled.
Well, which booth? I've got
your autograph booth.
Oh,
then you'll have a Skip Ace booth, a Smashbox booth, and then your just sole autograph booth, I assume.
I thought it was going to be the kissing booth.
Oh, yes.
Beware long lines, my friends. Yeah. Beware long lines.
I wonder who'd get in that line.
There's a lot of FP plus that might get in that line. Terry Miller.
I'm not saying
we've had good relationships with a lot of these women. They would be happy to come over and give me a little peck on the cheek. Sylvia Vokes. She'd come over and give me a nice little kiss on the cheek. She's a wonderful woman.
She is very much a sweetheart. That's a good point. All right. I hopefully will see some of you, and maybe I'll miss Johnny, but I'll see some of you hopefully this weekend.
Oh no, I might be abusing you for encore stuff. Like you might need an umbrella man. It's supposed to be. No, I'm not kidding you, Terry. Okay. It's supposed to be like 106 degrees this weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm just gonna quit.
Yeah, it's my wife.
Hey Terry, what happened to that shop? I don't know. Terry's at the bar.
Terry's in the shade somewhere.
Terry's in Lake Michigan.
They were talking in the Milwaukee area.
In Manitowoc?
I didn't look in Manitowoc. They were talking
I saw only in the 80s.
They were talking Milwaukee area, like 96, feels like 104.
F that.
So I don't know. I know Manitowoc is a little, but you're lucky that the course that's probably going to be a little cooler because it's closer to the lake is on the weekend because it's just supposed to get really hot this weekend. You're gonna need some of my happy nuts. It's supposed to be pretty brutal.
Okay, here's what.
And again, Manitowoc is closer to the lake, so hopefully you're gonna get some. As
of right now, I always say I don't believe the weather till I'm in it, but as of right now, it is showing high of 70 and showers in that area tomorrow. Thursday, high of 79 and partly cloudy.
That's good.
Friday, 76, partly cloudy. Those are in on the shaded course. Saturday, right near the lake, 86 degrees with 17 mile an hour winds. That'll be nice for me.
It will be, yeah.
Not for them. And then Sunday, it currently says 86 with 16 mile an hour winds. So apparently, let's just hope that if there is this significant heat wave, like you're showing me.
Yeah, I'm showing Terry Milwaukee.
There's a magic line, hopefully, that remains. If it's hot in here in Milwaukee, I don't give a crap.
Correct.
But an hour north of here, hopefully it tops out at this 86.
Yeah, and I obviously, it looks like it is. It looks like there's 85, 86, because on my weather app, it is saying 93, 94 for Milwaukee, and that's just the temperature. That's not even the feels like.
Yuck.
So
because it'll be humid.
Because it'll be humid. So
hopefully, like I said, there's some magic line, and I'm glad I'm north by an hour. So
no, I'm hoping so too. But if you do need an umbrella, man, I might be abusing you for some on-course media stuff. And
that might be a good way to do it.
I'm just saying.
Toxen says, quitting my job, buying a plane ticket. Wait, kissing booth? Well, look, wouldn't be my worst meet and greet.
I'm sorry.
Wow. Buzz Swan, thanks for joining us. And do you have time to order an umbrella with morning wood on it? I'm just gonna say no. I don't ever have that kind of time. The question is, if they sent me one,
would you use it?
Would I use
first
it?
Thing in the morning? No. I know you. You wouldn't.
No, I don't need to welcome any more ridicule or abuse.
I agree.
I do enough on my own. I don't need to welcome any more. So, Tim says, "Will you sign my disc Happy Nuts?"
I will sign it that way.
That should be your new name.
Happy Nuts.
All right. I think that's silly enough.
Yeah,
I've got packing to do, a ton of stuff. I'm excited to go up to do the press conference tomorrow and then be up there for the whole weekend. But I do have a million things to do between now and when I leave in 12 hours. So, for Johnny V, I'm the Disc Golf Guy. That's podcast 562's after show. Thank you for joining us. Next week, we'll likely have a champion of sorts of maybe one or more divisions coming out of this weekend's event. That would be most logical. So we'll kind of plan on that. But again, thanks for joining. Thank you to Gannon Buhr for joining us in the regular show. Congrats to both him and, of course, Silva Saarinen on the FPO side over at the Preserve. That's it. We'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.